On the eve of the college entrance exam, the class beauty gave me a cup of milk tea. I turned around and gave it to the rich second-generation slacker who couldn't even solve the chicken and rabbit cage problem, because just half an hour earlier, I saw a bullet comment, "Good girl, Qing Jiayao has bound a college entrance exam score exchange system in the milk tea. Once you drink this, your scores will be swapped, and she will take your place at the best university in China. Not only that, she also hired a homeless man to defile you. Unable to bear the successive blows after failing the college entrance exam, you jumped into a river and committed suicide. Afterwards, she tricked your parents into going to northern Myanmar, where they were deceived and exploited, and drugged your brother, making him sleep with a woman infected with HIV. I had just placed the milk tea in the slacker's desk when the class beauty, Qing Jiayao, walked over with a dark expression. The moment I saw the bullet comments, I used the excuse that someone was looking for her to send her away. Only then could I swap the milk teas. Now, the milk tea on the desk is the one I just bought. Since it wasn't time for class yet, there were only the two of us in the classroom, with no one else around. She didn't speak in that cutesy tone anymore. "Jiang Handai, you said someone was looking for me at the school gate. But when I went, I didn't see a single soul, really." I pretended to be clueless. Then it must have been for someone else. After all, there's more than one person named Qing Jiayao. Her gentleness was all given to the boy. If it were any other day, she would have already pointed at my nose and scolded me. But today, she smiled gently. "So that's how it is. It's fine, just a wasted trip, consider it exercise." She pointed to the milk tea. "I bought it. Drink up quickly, actually, even without the barrage." I might not have necessarily drunk her milk tea, because I don't have a good relationship with her. Roughly speaking, it was because I once took off my glasses, which affected her title as the class beauty. This led to her having an inexplicable hostility towards me, often causing trouble. Seeing that I didn't respond, she said with a pitiful look, "It seems you're still upset about what happened yesterday. But I really didn't mean to. I was deceived by someone. Is that so? If it weren't for my perfume allergy, my theft of her perfume worth 1,000 yuan was confirmed." It must be said, her acting skills are on par with those of a professionally trained actor. As she spoke, tears streamed from the corners of her eyes like water. From what I understand, this kind of situation usually occurs when there's a guy around. Most likely, someone is coming. Indeed, the next second, hurried footsteps sounded. Looking around, it was her admirer, Tian Mingqing. Tian Mingqing was like a rabid dog, barking wildly. "Jiang Handai, you're bullying Yao Yao again. Believe it or not, I'll beat you so badly you'll be picking your teeth off the floor, and you won't even be able to take the college entrance exam tomorrow." Heh, with his malnourished physique, he's not even a match for one of my hands. I didn't even have time to give him a contemptuous look. Qing Jiayao gently stroked his chest. "Brother Mingqing, don't be angry. It was my fault yesterday. It's only natural that Handai won't forgive me, but," she pouted, "I really can't bear to lose this friendship. Otherwise, I wouldn't have specially bought milk tea to apologize." As soon as these words were spoken, Tian Mingqing felt extremely distressed. He roared at me, "Jiang Handai, what are you so arrogant about? It's just that you know how to study and rely on the teachers liking you. When you step out of this school gate, you're nothing." Then, softening his tone, "If you're given a way out, take it quickly. Drink the milk tea." Yao Yao has already taken a step back. "You can't push your luck any further. If it weren't for wanting to see the show, I would have thrown the milk tea in his face and then stuck the straw up his nose." I suppressed the anger in my heart and looked at Qing Jiayao. "Are you sincerely apologizing to me?" Seeing her nod, I added, "Just now, when I went to the restroom, I accidentally dropped the money in. As long as you help me pick it up, I'll forgive you and accept your milk tea." She never expected that I, who had always been friendly to others, would have a moment of being unyielding. She wanted to act delicate and pitiful, using the same tactics she used on boys to deal with me. However, before she could even start her act, Tian Mingqing beat her to it. "Enough, don't push your luck. Yao Yao doesn't need a friend like you." Then, he took the milk tea from the table. "Even a dog wouldn't drink it if it were given to you. You don't deserve Yao Yao's kindness." After saying that, he was about to throw the milk tea into the trash can. How could Qing Jiayao agree? It was a matter of a lifetime. If she missed this opportunity, it would be gone forever. In her desperation, she simply stopped pretending and immediately slapped Tian Mingqing, and taking advantage of Tian Mingqing's stunned moment, she swiftly grabbed the milk tea and placed it in front of me. "Isn't it just picking up money from a cesspool? I'm willing, as long as you can accept the milk tea." As soon as the words left her mouth, she regretted it. If no one else were present, she would have cursed my ancestors for 18 generations. People should never make decisions in a moment of desperation. Before she could utter a word of regret, I pointed toward the restroom. The money fell into the third stall. Better go before the school water supply is restored, otherwise it'll be washed away and gone. That's 100 yuan. After all, thanks to the burst pipe, the water was temporarily cut off for a few hours. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found such a perfect excuse to give her a hard time. Tian Mingqing can be considered a devoted lover. Even with a slap mark on his face, he still wanted to help her. Unfortunately, men are not allowed in the women's restroom. This task could only be completed by Qing Jiayao herself. To make matters worse, there were no gloves available at the moment. Under my urging, she had no choice but to brace herself and walk toward the bathroom, forcing herself to put her hand in despite the disgust. Watching her look of defeat, I thought to myself, how satisfying. She brought it upon herself with her wicked intentions, so she deserves this outcome. After fumbling around for about 2 minutes, unable to find anything, she grew so anxious that sweat began to bead on her forehead. Having humiliated her enough, I decided to add a little more frustration to her day. She had just raised her hand when I slowly pulled out a 100 yuan bill from my pocket. Sorry, Jiayao, it turns out my pocket was torn, and the money fell into the lining, not in the pit. You've worked hard. She almost died of anger. Isn't that right, putting in so much effort to scoop it up? In the end, it was all for nothing, like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Anyone would be furious. She gritted her teeth and said, "Are you making a fool of me, Jiang Handai? You've gone too far." She wanted to curse, but the water happened to come on just then. At that moment, she didn't have time to think too much and rushed to the faucet to wash the filth from her hands. I didn't linger any longer and instead walked into the classroom. There were still 20 minutes left before class started. The students have been trickling back into the classroom. I can't help but feel a bit disappointed. It would have been so much better if everyone had witnessed the scene in the restroom. I had assumed that the rich, underachieving second-generation student would, as usual, arrive fashionably late, waiting for the class bell to ring. Unexpectedly, he arrived early today for the first time. He felt the milk tea in the desk and frowned. Just as he was about to throw it away, I walked up to him. "When Sibai, the milk tea is from me." I don't have much contact with him. The sudden conversation made the situation a bit awkward, but I have to break this awkwardness. I need him to drink the milk tea so I can deliver a fatal blow to Qing Jiayao. Indeed, Qing Jiayao's grades are not as good as mine. Otherwise she wouldn't have thought of swapping scores with me, but she definitely has no problem getting into a second-tier university. As for Wen Sibai, she is practically illiterate. Forget about functions and geometry. She doesn't even understand the classic chickens and rabbits in a cage problem. If it weren't for being born into a good family, he would have been hauling bricks long ago. Worried that he might refuse, I added, "Drink this, and you'll definitely score 450 on the college entrance exam." Seeing how serious I looked, he laughed. "My dad spends 2,000 yuan an hour hiring a famous teacher to tutor me, yet I can't even grasp the Pythagorean theorem. What makes you think that by drinking this milk tea, I'll improve so much? Could it possibly have some special powers?" I was about to nod, but he beat me to it. "Even if you really have special abilities, why would you give them to me?" I couldn't exactly say that he was just a pawn in my revenge against Qing Jiayao. After much thought, this was the only way. With a shy expression, I said, "Because I, like you, a milk tea shop just opened near the temple, and the owner said the Buddha would make customers' wishes come true. I don't ask that we go to the same school, only that we can be in the same city. As long as I can see you one more time, I'll be content." Afraid he wouldn't believe me, I added, "In our first year of high school, you saved me when I was cornered by some troublemakers. From that moment on, you've had a place in my heart, for some reason, even though I was just using him." But as I said this, my heart was pounding wildly. If I'm not mistaken, it must be nervousness. After all, I'm not good at lying. Perhaps it was his first time being confessed to by a girl, and his face couldn't help but turn red. Even speaking became stuttered. Really, since it's your heartfelt gift, I'll accept it." He thought for a moment, then added, "If I really score over 450 points in the college entrance exam, I'll give you 500,000 yuan as a thank you fee." Hearing about the money, I immediately stopped feeling nervous. 500,000 yuan, for someone from an ordinary family like me, that's not a small amount. Excellent. Now, not only can I drag Qing Jiayao into the water, but I also get money for nothing. Qingjiao, you've made the wedding dress for me, Handai. When Sibai's call interrupted my train of thought, I wanted to say something, but swallowed my words. He fell silent and drank the milk tea right in front of me. I also breathed a sigh of relief. After returning to my seat, Qingjiao happened to come back to the classroom. Seeing that there were classmates present, she no longer acted aggressively. Handa, I genuinely want to make up with you, but you, as she spoke, she began to sob. That overly sweet voice gave me goosebumps all over, however. She soon realized that the most important thing at the moment was not to cause trouble for me. For this reason, she had no choice but to wipe away her tears. You've seen my sincerity, now I know what she means. She just wants me to drink the milk tea. In that case, I'll do as she wishes. Under her gaze, I pick up the straw and insert it. Hearing my gulp, she flashed a wicked smile, muttering under her breath, Jiang Handai, when the college entrance exam scores come out, you'll be crying your eyes out. She glanced at me. I'll pay back today's humiliation. I'll show you what true darkness in life means. Is she blind? Can't she see there's a mirror on my desk? No matter how softly she speaks, I can still read her lips through the mirror. Since she already hates me, why not make her hate me a little more? I poked the school heartthrob Qin Xingyi, who was sitting in front of me. Classmate, did you just fart? I smell something foul. Qin Xingyi turned his head, looking at me with a puzzled expression. There is a foul smell, but it really wasn't me. He sniffed around like a police dog and finally stopped in the direction of Qingjiao. It was you, Qingjiao, the class beauty, would never admit it, just about to frame me. Qin Xingyiao shook his head. No, this isn't the smell of a fart, it's the smell of shit. Qingjiao, did you shit in your pants? This is even worse than farting. Before she could argue, I stood up and said loudly, that's right, it's coming from you, Jiao. It must have splashed on you when you were digging for poop just now. The spots on your school uniform are poop splatters, aren't they? As soon as these words were spoken, many people turned their gaze toward her. She simply couldn't bear it any longer. With a loud, wow, she ran away. Seeing this, Tian Mingqing quickly followed after her. Nothing is more devastating than destroying someone's spirit. She cares so much about her image. And now that it's ruined, how could she not be upset? Watching her suffer one setback after another, you can't imagine how delighted I feel inside. I am someone who repays kindness with kindness and vengeance with vengeance. She wants to harm me, how can I not fight back? 3 days pass quickly, the college entrance exam is over. I thought Qingjiao would wait for the results to come out before causing trouble. I never expected to run into her on the first night of the holiday. I didn't want to pay her any attention, but her behavior was so sneaky, just like a thief. Worried that she might bind me to some strange system again, I followed her. She kept walking. She didn't stop until she reached an abandoned kindergarten. Seeing no one around, she took a silver bracelet out of her pocket. Isn't this my silver bracelet? I recognized it because the pattern and inscription on the silver bracelet were drawn stroke by me on paper and then carved by the jeweler. 3 years ago, while trying on a jade bracelet, I took it off. When I went to put it back on, it was gone. After checking the mall surveillance footage, I discovered it had been taken by a woman with a birthmark on her face. But now, how could it be on Qingjiao? Before I could figure it out, the silver bracelet emitted a white glow. A translucent figure appeared in front of Qingjiao. My first thought was that it was a ghost, and I almost screamed. It's not that I'm timid, but people always have fear towards the unknown. Qingjiao might not be encountering this for the first time. Not only was she not afraid, but she also shouted at the top of her lungs, damn it, if I don't get this anger out, I won't be able to rest in peace. Xiao Chuji, is there any system that can make Jiang Handai suffer so much she can neither live nor die? It seems she still holds a grudge over what happened before the college entrance exams. Then again, with her narrow-mindedness, letting go is easier said than done. At that time, I didn't seek revenge, probably because I was afraid it would affect my performance in the college entrance exam. That way, she would have wasted the score exchange system for nothing. At the same time, I felt fortunate that I had followed along, otherwise, I wouldn't even know when she might end up harming me. Xiao Chuji's gentle voice interrupted my train of thought. She pursed her lips into a smile. Of course there is. In the next second, a red mist of light materialized out of thin air in her left hand. This is the love at first sight system. Once bound, you will fall head over heels for the first person of the opposite sex you see, whether in reality or in photos. As long as it's the opposite sex, it's fine. I thought Qingjiao would find the poorest and ugliest person in the world to get back at me. Unexpectedly, she said. What a great love at first sight system, Zhao Chuji, tell me. If Jiang Handai fell in love with her own brother, wouldn't that throw her whole family into chaos? What if she can't control herself and ends up with her brother? I didn't pay close attention to the vulgar words that followed. At that moment, I was filled with rage. This black-hearted one actually wants me to fall in love with my brother. Undoubtedly, they intend to push me down a path of death. If that's the case, then I'll arrange a man with a catastrophic start for her. She is in the light, while I am in the shadows. Who will emerge victorious remains to be seen. Zhao Chuji's voice is very pleasant. It always makes people unconsciously perk up their ears to listen. As usual, you'll need to pawn something. Pawn? It seems there's no such thing as a free lunch. The selfish Qing Jiayao was somewhat reluctant. The first time with the beauty system, I pawned my friendships, which left me without any close friends throughout all 3 years of high school. During the second college entrance exam score exchange system, I pawned my family bonds. From that day on, my parents have been cold and indifferent to me. This time, you wouldn't want me to pawn my love, would you? It's no wonder she would think that. After all, there are only these 3 types of emotions between people. No, did she say the college entrance exam score exchange system was the second transaction? I see. It was her who took advantage of the situation back then. She only became like this after binding with the beauty system, but I don't understand. How did she know the silver bracelet had this function? You should know I've worn this bracelet before and never noticed anything unusual. Zhao Chuji shook her head. Love is the most unreliable thing. What would I want with this? She raised an eyebrow. This time, what I want is 20 years of your life. No way. Qing Jiayao instinctively objected. The world is so beautiful, I haven't lived enough yet. Don't be so quick to refuse. Zhao Chuji counted on her fingers. From what I understand, you can live to be 100 years old. Even if you pawn 20 years of your life, you'll still live to 80. Living to that age is more than enough. Seeing her hesitate, Zhao Chuji continued, when you turn 80, you'll suffer a fall that leaves you paralyzed and bedridden. If you think lying in bed is comfortable, I won't force you. Suddenly, Zhao Chuji became very serious. By the way, I only have 3 chances to meet you. If you miss this one, you'll never see me again. The humiliation Jiang Handai gave you, you can forget about avenging. She, who was originally hesitant, immediately made up her mind upon hearing my name. It's just 20 years of life. I'll pawn it. With that, she picked up a string of crystal bracelets. Let Zhao Chuji put that red mist inside. I didn't linger any longer and left before they noticed. Qing Jiayao lives not far from my home. Early the next morning, she knocked on the door. If it weren't to watch her drop a rock on her own foot, the moment the door opened, I would have splashed the toilet water on her. I said in a joking tone, Jiayao, what brings you here so early in the morning? I get it, you've developed a habit of digging for treasure, and this time you want to try it at my place. Too bad my house hasn't had any water outages, and we don't have a habit of not flushing. Sorry to disappoint you. Nothing could have been more embarrassing for her than this. Hearing me mention it, her face twisted with anger, but she had no choice but to hold it in. Handa, I didn't even hold a grudge against you for tricking me that day, yet here you are, growing even more sharp-tongued and mean. To be a person, one must be magnanimous, otherwise you won't have any friends. Isn't it her who has no friends? She's always like this, never able to see her own mistakes. Forget it, she smiled. An eye for an eye will only lead to endless conflict. I won't hold it against you. Then she took out the crystal bracelet. This is my gift for you. Let's bury the hatchet and become friends forever. She really has a way with words. It's a shame she's not a stand-up comedian. Then, she fiddled with the crystal bracelet. I spent 2,000 yuan on this. How about that? I'm sincere enough, right? She doesn't know me at all. Do you really think I'm as money-grubbing as she is? Seeing that I remained unmoved, she had no choice but to kneel down. If you refuse to accept it, I won't get up, you little rascal, trying to threaten me now. If it weren't for seeing the bullet comments and her secret from last night, perhaps I would have been genuinely moved. After all, I'm someone who responds better to kindness than to force. Enough is enough, otherwise, you won't get to see the good show. I pretended to be overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. What are you doing? We're classmates, you shouldn't kneel to me. Then I helped her up. All right, from now on, we're the best of friends. Seeing me accept the bracelet, she grinned from ear to ear. However, I didn't wear it. Instead, I pulled out an identical one from my pocket. I've never liked taking advantage of others. This bracelet was originally meant to be a birthday gift for my cousin. Now, I'm giving it to you as a return gift. The bracelet, I had it ready last night. just waiting for her to come today, to pull a switcheroo. Seeing this, she laughed even more heartily. I know, deep down she's mocking me for being foolish. Just as she was about to take it, I was about to shout, "There's a rat," to divert her attention. As luck would have it, a quarrel broke out from the opposite apartment. Everyone has a sense of curiosity. As soon as I noticed her gaze wasn't on my hand, I quickly switched it out. She was about to perk up her ears to listen, but then remembered there was still important business to attend to. After snapping back to reality, she hurriedly asked me to put it on. To highlight the deep bond between sisters, she naturally put one on as well. She reacted quickly. The next second, she presented her brother's photo right in front of me. Judging by the background of the photo, it must have been taken secretly while crouching at the entrance of the first floor. Quite patient, you know. My brother had to work overtime yesterday and didn't get back until 1 a.m. It's true, when people are up to no good, no amount of effort feels tiring. I pretended to know nothing. How do you have a photo of my brother? Could it be that you've taken a liking to him? It's a shame he doesn't fancy you, and he hopes you won't get the wrong idea. She wanted to argue, but I cut her off. I noticed my brother is quite handsome. I wonder which woman will have the good fortune to marry him. Worried that she might see my brother's photo and start bothering him, I quickly snatched the photo away and said in a jealous tone, "My brother is mine, and no one is allowed to think about him," thinking she had successfully secured her position. She smiled so widely that her eyes narrowed into slits. Seizing her moment of joy, I was about to pick up my phone to show her the photo of Tian Mingqing. Suddenly, the door across from us opened. In came a man who looked like a blobfish. Naturally, Qing Jiao's gaze also turned toward him. Things seemed to have gone beyond my expectations. Although Tian Mingqing's family was so poor they couldn't even put food on the table, with both parents disabled and 5 younger siblings to support. At least he had a decent appearance, but this blobfish, not only did he share the same family situation as Tian Mingqing, he also has violent tendencies. We just had an argument because he lost money gambling and wanted to take more to try to win it back. Looking at the elderly person behind him, bruised and battered, it's clear he used a lot of force. If Qing Jiao really got together with him, you can imagine what kind of life that would be. This is just too satisfying. Originally, I wanted to leave Qing Jiao a glimmer of hope. Who would have thought that even the heavens didn't want to help her? Wow, that guy is so handsome. Jiang Handai, do you have his contact information? After the blobfish left, she couldn't help but ask me. Handsome, indeed. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Unfortunately, for a pervert like the blobfish, I can't get away fast enough, let alone ask for his contact information. Seeing that I knew nothing, she scolded me for being useless. Then she hurriedly chased after him. However, the blobfish moved too quickly. She couldn't keep up. Of course, I wasn't worried. Given her personality, she's bound to get involved with the blobfish. When it comes to dealing with men, she's a pro. Soon, the day to check the scores arrived. It's unclear how she managed to convince the class monitor to organize a gathering in the classroom. There are only 5 minutes left until the results are announced. Standing on the podium, she spoke with tears in her voice. At this point, I can no longer hide some things. In fact, Jiang Handai is not the top student. The real top student is me. All these years, I've been bullied by her. To protect myself, I had to write her name on every exam. Nonsense. Fortunately, the female classmates remained skeptical of her words. As for the male classmates, except for Wen Sibai, they all pointed fingers at me in unison, especially Tian Mingqing, spraying saliva everywhere. I wanted to prove my innocence, but she wouldn't let me. Jiang Handai, I know you won't admit it. How about this? Let's make a bet. If the results come out and you haven't even reached 500 points, let each classmate slap you. I raised an eyebrow and asked, and if we succeed? She chuckled lightly. Slap me? There are 56 people in the class. Then she would have to endure 55 slaps. Even if those boys might show some mercy and just give a few symbolic slaps. But she has pretty much offended almost all the girls in the class. Those 28 slaps would definitely land squarely on her face. Since she's determined to bring trouble upon herself, why should I stop her? I curled my lips into a smile. Let's bet then. I hope you won't regret it. She walked up to me and whispered, I'm afraid the one who'll regret it will be you. Is that so? I didn't respond to her anymore, instead quietly waiting for the time to come when the second hand points to 12. Everyone picked up their phones simultaneously, only she kept staring at me. When she saw that my total score column showed 0, she danced with joy. She stood before the podium once again. Jiang Handai, She scored 0 on the exam. Now do you all believe what I said? Did she become foolish after binding with the love at first sight system? I don't know. Then she shouted, "Everyone, come quickly, it's a free hit." The first to rush forward was Tian Mingqing, to please the beauty. He raised his hand high. It seemed he was going to strike with deadly force, but I am not one to be trifled with. Ever since I was blocked by a group of troublemakers, I have been diligently studying martial arts. I just hadn't had the chance to act yet. Then I heard him let out a loud cry. I looked up and saw Wen Sibai gripping his wrist tightly. Wen Sibai said with a stern gaze, "Don't you know that the scores of the top 50 are hidden, huh?" I thought he didn't care about studying. How did he know about this? Upon hearing this, Qing Jiayao didn't panic at all. Instead, she burst into laughter. I said she scored 0, so she scored 0. She moved closer to me and whispered in a voice only I could hear, "We're bound by the college entrance exam score exchange system." I handed in a blank paper, so naturally, "You get a 0, what?" She actually handed in a blank paper, then my 500,000 yuan would be down the drain. Suddenly, I felt very sorry for Wen Sibai. Originally, he could have relied on luck to fill in ABC and get a few dozen points. Now, all of that is gone. Seeing me in a daze, Qing Jiayao thought I was too heartbroken to think straight, and a sinister smile spread across her face. Then she picked up her phone and entered her exam number. To my surprise, she also scored 0. Could it be that Wen Sibai had such bad luck that she didn't get a single question right? She raised her chin. "This is what I call blocking points. Jiang Handai, you have to accept defeat gracefully." She gave a meaningful look. The boys who liked her immediately understood and stepped forward one after another. Just as they were about to lay hands on me, Wen Sibai stepped in front of me. "Whoever dares to touch Handai today will have to answer to my fists." I, Wen Sibai, may not be as good at studying as others, but when it comes to martial arts, none of you can beat me. For some reason, I felt like crying. There are actually people who would protect me without hesitation. At this moment, I realize my own heart. I think I really like him. Qing Jiayao wishes all the men in the world would revolve around her. Now that I've discovered someone is circling around me, how could I not be annoyed? However, she restrained her emotions and said gently, "Brother Sibai, you've been deceived by Jiang Handai. Jiang Handai not only bullies her classmates, but she also disregards ethics and has fallen in love with her own biological brother, such a person with no moral compass." I couldn't hold back any longer and slapped her hard across the face. Immediately, her nose started bleeding. I still wanted to give her a bit of face. Now it seems unnecessary. I raised my phone high and played a video from the album. Yes, it was exactly the scene of her frolicking with the blobfish. That day, they didn't close the door tightly. I didn't want to record this, but I just couldn't bear it. What if she succeeded? It wouldn't just ruin me, but my brother's entire life. Seeing this, Tian Mingqing's heart was shattered. He said in disbelief, "Yao Yao, didn't you say you didn't want to be in a relationship for now? What's going on here?" Since Qing Jiayao is unwilling to answer, let me answer for her. What's going on? Of course, it's to keep you on the hook, turning your labor into gold coins. With the gold coins, she and her boyfriend can live a life of luxury. As soon as these words were spoken, it wasn't just Tian Mingqing whose world collapsed, so the man who liked her felt as if the sky had fallen. Seeing that things weren't unfolding as she had imagined, she even yelled at me, "We're talking about college entrance exam scores right now. Why are you bringing this up? Ridiculous." She was the one who changed the subject herself. She still wanted to keep talking nonsense. At that moment, the head teacher walked over. He looked at her with a pleased expression. "Handai, you're doing great. Just now, Tsinghua and Peking University's admissions offices called, both fighting over you." A smart person would have already realized something was off, but Qing Jiayao not only failed to catch on, she even asked a laughable question. I also ranked in the top 50. Did the admissions office mention me? The dean gave her a glare. "You still have the nerve to say that? I've taught so many students, but this is the first time I've seen someone score a 0. The dean wanted to say more, but his phone rang, and after telling me to carefully consider which school to choose, he left. Impossible. She frantically grabbed her own hair. Before she could utter another word, a slap echoed. It was Tian Mingqing who had struck her. She wanted to curse, but another slap rang out. I turned to look and saw a long line had already formed in front of her. Since I had just slapped her earlier, there was no need to hit her again, so I left first. As I passed by the playground, I heard someone calling out to me. I could tell it was Wen Sibai. Out of guilt, I lowered my head and said, "I'm sorry, I was the one who boasted too much. What did you say? He looked at me in confusion. Give me the QR code, and I'll transfer the money to you. Qing Jiao didn't even hand in a blank paper, so why is she transferring money to me? Seeing that I hadn't taken out my phone, he grew a bit anxious. One should keep their word. I scored 480 points, so of course, 480 points. I'm getting more and more confused the more I listen. To get to the truth, I interrupted his endless chatter and told him everything that had happened. Upon hearing this, he frowned deeply. Is that so? But after drinking that cup of milk tea. Although I didn't reach the level of writing with divine inspiration, I could handle the basic questions. In an instant, I understood. Actually, that wasn't the college entrance exam score transfer system. Instead, just about to speak my mind, Qing Jiao walked over with a swollen face. This time, she no longer pretended to be delicate or pitiful, but instead directly cursed out loud. You little bitch. So you gave the milk tea to Wen Sibai. I'm going to die because of you. As he spoke, he was about to start a fight with me. Just then, the skies suddenly turned very dark. Looking at the leaves frozen in mid-air, it seemed time had stopped, and the only one who could do this was Xiao Chuji. The next second, she drifted out from the silver bracelet. Under her control, only Qing Jiamiao and I could move. Seeing her, Qing Jiamiao showed unprecedented joy. Xiao Chuji, is there any other system? This time, I want Jiang Handai dead. At this moment, I am very panicked. Afraid that she would follow Qing Jiao's words and end my life. Perhaps her transaction with Qing Jiao has concluded, and she paid no heed, but floating in front of me, gently brushing my face. Child, I am your great-grandmother. This was too much information, and I couldn't help but be stunned. After regaining my composure, the confusion in my heart grew even stronger. Since I share a blood relationship with her, why would she help Qing Jiao? It was only after she explained that I understood what had happened. 90 years ago, after she fell off the cliff, she was taken in by the 10th pawn shop, but there is no such thing as a free lunch. The pawn shop owner had her attach her soul to a silver bracelet to help people fulfill their wishes, thereby gaining benefits, but she never expected that I would be bound together with her. Since the No. 10 pawn shop never makes a losing deal, what is lost far outweighs what is gained. Worried that I might suffer backlash, she dared not come out. Fortunately, Qing Jiao was greedy and stole my silver bracelet. That's how the transaction between the two of them came about. I looked at her seriously and said, if I'm not mistaken, you made me see the bullet comments. Actually, that's not a college entrance exam score exchange system, but a knowledge transfer system. This explains why Wen Sibai scored 480 points. It's simply because the knowledge in his head belongs to Qing Jiao. Realizing she had been tricked, Qing Jiao was furious. However, she had no idea that even worse was yet to come. Her great-grandmother glanced at her. I forgot to tell you, you are selfish and self-centered, and you will never have true friendship, so your appearance can only last for 3 years. In just a few minutes, you will turn back into an ugly monster. She cared deeply about her appearance. Now, completely panicked, she knelt down, begging her great-grandmother to help her. Her great-grandmother didn't even glance at her. Who told you to have evil intentions and try to harm my darling? This is what you deserve. Then she gently said to me, Qing Jiao's family ties are quite good, and her knowledge can be used by Xiao Wen for a long time. You don't have to worry about him being expelled from school halfway through his studies. I wanted to say, who's worried about Wen Sibai, but then I heard her let out a long sigh. Little Wen is a poor child. He lost his biological mother at a young age. His stepmother, worried that he might gain knowledge and inherit the family business, deliberately hired some disreputable people to teach him, which is how he ended up like this. So, Wen Sibai had such unfortunate troubles, yet in daily life, he always seemed so carefree and unconcerned. Hearing this, my heart couldn't help but ache. Amidst the sorrow, the sky gradually brightened. My great-grandmother reluctantly stroked my disheveled hair. Child, I must return to the 10th pawn shop now. The road ahead, you must walk it alone. No sooner had she spoken than her soul became transparent. I can't bear to part either, but all good things must come to an end. Besides, we are not from the same world. As she left, everything around began to move. Wen Sibai, unaware of what had just happened, stared at me blankly. Handa, you never really liked me. Everything you did was for. As he spoke, his eyes turned red. It's okay, as long as you can make me like you. Seeing his misunderstanding, I pouted. If I didn't like you, I would have given the milk tea to the second-to-last person. Upon hearing this, a joyful smile spread across his face, just about to take a step closer to me, beside my ear. Qing Jiao's heart-wrenching cries rang out. I turned to look and found her appearance had drastically changed. Afraid of being pointed at and gossiped about, she fled in panic. When Sibai was completely baffled, but as long as it didn't concern him, he wouldn't take it seriously, and so, we officially became a couple. I thought that after this incident, I would never see Qing Jiao again. The day before I was to go to Tsinghua University, I ran into her. She knelt before the blobfish, begging it not to abandon her. However, the blobfish found her ugly. After beating her up, it leisurely swam away. Unfortunately, the love at first sight system cannot be undone by just beating someone up. She will still cling to him. When she saw me, she even asked, "What about you? When are you going to marry your brother?" I sighed. "You really are foolish. You still don't realize that you're the one bound by the love at first sight system." Based on recent behavior, she finally understood. No wonder she bought a crystal bracelet exactly like mine. "So, you knew all along. Why is your life so blessed? No matter what happens, there's always someone to help you." I smiled and said, "It's not that I'm lucky, but that you're too envious. If you had simply been looking out for yourself, how could it have ended like this?" After saying that, I turned and walked away. During my sophomore year, I heard she married a blobfish. Indeed, who would refuse a free laborer? In fact, her tragedy had only just begun. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. 1 week before the college entrance exam, the class beauty claimed that as long as everyone drank the herbal decoction passed down in her family, it would enhance intelligence and ensure success in the exam. I was worried it might affect the college entrance exam and earnestly advised everyone not to drink unknown herbal decoctions, which earned me the class beauty's resentment. As a result, I was isolated by the entire class. The class beauty led everyone in hurling insults and bullying me, calling me selfish and accusing me of hindering everyone from achieving high scores. In the end, I stumbled out of the school gate in a daze and was struck by a truck, reborn and returned. I will absolutely not speak out of turn again. In this life, I won't try to persuade anyone. I'll just watch and see whether you all ascend straight to heaven or plunge into hell. I suddenly opened my eyes, a fine layer of sweat beading on my forehead. The noisy sounds of the classroom flooded into my ears like a tide, and sunlight slanted through the window, spilling onto my desk and illuminating the open college entrance exam mock test paper. This can't be. I looked down at my perfectly intact hands, my fingertips trembling slightly. Just moments ago, or perhaps in another time and space, I had been lying in a pool of blood, feeling life slowly drain from my body. "Jim, what are you daydreaming about?" My desk mate John nudged me with his elbow. "Tina is about to start handing out the medicine." I slowly looked up, my gaze drifting over the rows of desks until it settled on the girl in the white dress standing in front of the podium. Tina, the class beauty, was holding a thermos with a sweet smile on her face. This scene felt so familiar that it even made me question my own existence. "Classmates, this is a secret recipe passed down from my grandfather, specifically for boosting brainpower and refreshing the mind." Tina's voice was clear and pleasant. "My dad stayed up all night brewing it, just a small cup every day. And I guarantee everyone will perform exceptionally well in the college entrance exams." Because my fist was clenched too tightly, my nails dug deep into my palm, I had been reborn, returned to the day that changed everything. 1 week before the college entrance exam, the day Tina distributed the miracle drug. In my previous life, I earnestly tried to persuade everyone not to drink the mysterious drug, even secretly pouring some of it away. And what was the result? I was isolated by the whole class, led by Tina in hurling insults at me, accused of being selfish and hindering everyone from achieving high scores. In the end, I stumbled out of the school gate in a daze and was struck by a truck. No good deed goes unpunished. This time, I won't make the same mistake again. I sneered inwardly, watching my classmates eagerly crowd around me. First, Leo, the sports committee member, rushed to the podium first. "I'm the worst at physics, so I really need to boost my brainpower." Tina smiled and poured out a small cup of brown liquid. The classroom was instantly filled with a strange herbal smell, mixed with a pungent sweetness. "This smell is so strong." Judy, the class monitor, wrinkled her nose. "Good medicine tastes bitter," Tina said nonchalantly. "My grandpa says it's brewed from dozens of rare herbs, so of course the smell is special." I sat quietly in my seat, watching coldly. In my previous life, I had stood up at this moment, loudly telling everyone not to drink unknown medicines casually, but now, I just lowered my head slightly, pretending to read a book without saying a word. Jim, aren't you going to have a cup? Tina suddenly looked at me, a sharp glint flashing in her eyes. My silence made me stand out in this chattering atmosphere. The entire class turned their eyes toward me in unison. I looked up and gave a harmless smile. My stomach hasn't been feeling well lately. The doctor said I shouldn't drink herbal medicine. TCH, coward, I think you're just scared, Leo sneered, tilting his head back and downing the medicine in one gulp. Wow, it's a bit bitter, but after drinking it, my whole body feels warm, and my mind instantly feels much clearer. Really, that amazing. Several classmates gathered around, half believing and half doubting. Why would I lie to you? Leo patted his chest. I feel like I can solve that last physics challenge problem right now. Those words were like a shot of adrenaline, and more students surged toward Tina. I watched them drink that unknown liquid one by one, feeling completely unmoved inside. In my past life, I saw them as classmates, as friends, but in the end, they were all a bunch of ungrateful wolves, not worthy of the slightest sympathy. Jim, are you really not drinking? Class monitor Wendy walked over with a cup in hand. Everyone else has had some. It's fine. I shook my head. I really can't drink. You all go ahead. I need to go to the clinic later to get some stomach medicine. Wendy pursed her lips and turned away. I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination, but I noticed her step seemed a bit hurried, and her cheeks were flushed with an unusual redness. The class beauty's appeal was truly unmatched. In less than half an hour, out of the 43 students in the class, everyone except me had drunk Tina's miracle potion. The classroom was filled with a strange, excited atmosphere. The students' voices grew louder and louder, and some even began to dance around as if they had already been accepted into Tsinghua or Peking University. I can clearly feel myself getting smarter. John suddenly slapped the table and stood up. I remember all the math formulas. Me too, Tina. This medicine is amazing. Praise echoed one after another. Tina stood on the podium, proud as a peacock spreading its tail. As for me, I silently watched this performance and really wanted to give each of them an Oscar statuette. After 3 years as classmates, I finally discovered their talent for acting. Everyone, quiet. Teacher Lucas, the homeroom teacher, pushed the door open and entered, frowning as he looked at the noisy classroom. What's going on, teacher? We drank Tina's family's secret brain-boosting tonic, and it works really well, a classmate excitedly reported. Teacher Lucas looked suspiciously at Tina. What kind of medicine? Has it been approved by the school? It's just a family heirloom, something to drink like water, Tina stammered, mumbling under her breath, clearly lacking confidence. I lowered my head to hide the cold smile at the corner of my mouth. Judging by her reaction, there was definitely something wrong with the medicine. Only these foolish ingrates would overlook such details because of their unconditional trust in her. Nonsense, Teacher Lucas said sternly. How can you take medicine recklessly before the college entrance exam? What if there are side effects? Teacher, we really feel great, Leo argued loudly. I was sleepy before, but now I just want to do the test papers. Teacher Lucas scanned the classroom. Facing the fervent gazes of the students, she seemed to want to say something more. But the class bell rang. She could only wave her hand and say, let's start the class first. We'll deal with this after class. Tina, come to my office after school. The class began, but no one could focus. The students who had taken the medicine were clearly in an abnormally excited state. Some kept shaking their legs, some muttered to themselves quietly, and others occasionally let out eerie laughter. Soon it was time for school to end. Tina was called to the office, and fewer people remained in the classroom. I packed up my bag and prepared to leave. Jim, Wendy suddenly stopped me. Why didn't you take the medicine? Do you know what you missed? Looking at her twisted expression, I said softly, I just have a sensitive stomach. You don't look well. Do you want to go to the infirmary? I'm great, better than ever. Wendy laughed shrilly. I feel incredibly strong right now, like I could ace the exam. Without continuing the conversation with her, I walked out of the classroom. Let's just wait and see. Sunlight streamed through the classroom window, casting bright spots on my desk. Staring at those shimmering patches of light, I tapped my fingers unconsciously on the desktop. It had been 3 days since I was reborn, and I still woke up each morning wondering if all of this was just a long, vivid dream. Jim, can I borrow your notes? I looked up and saw Wendy standing by my desk, with heavy dark circles under her eyes. Ever since she drank Tina's medicine, she had been in a strange state of excitement, reportedly sleeping only 3 or 4 hours a day yet still full of energy. Here, I handed over the notebook without saying anything more. Thanks. She took the notes, her fingernails showing clear bite marks around the edges. I memorized the periodic table 10 times last night, and now my mind feels incredibly clear. I nodded without saying much. Amid the constant rustling of pages and hushed whispers in the classroom, the atmosphere remained quite intense. After all, this was a group of people who were particularly confident about the college entrance exam. Tina's seat is in the front row of the classroom. Today, she is wearing a light blue dress with her hair tied up in a high ponytail, looking clean and fresh. Who would have thought that such a seemingly radiant girl would, in my past life, lead the way in bullying me at school, ultimately driving me to a mental breakdown and causing me to dash into the street. Class, there are only 4 days left until the college entrance exam, said our homeroom teacher, Mr. Lucas, tapping on the blackboard. Today, we'll go over a few key question types, so please stay focused. I forced myself to shift my gaze away from Tina and toward the blackboard. At this point in my past life, I had already been isolated by the entire class, enduring daily taunts and pranks. Now, I was like an invisible person, quietly sitting in the corner of the classroom, with no one paying me any particular attention, and this was exactly what I wanted. As the bell rang for the end of class and teacher Lucas had just left the classroom, Tina stood up, holding that familiar thermos. Who hasn't had their medicine today? My dad brewed a new batch, and it's even more effective. Her voice was as sweet as honey. Several classmates immediately gathered around her, including the usually cautious class monitor, Judy. How have you all been feeling these past few days? Judy pushed up her glasses and asked hesitantly. Absolutely amazing. Leo jumped up from the back row, rushing to the front of the classroom in a few quick steps. After drinking it, I could understand physics problems at a glance. I scored 20 points higher on yesterday's mock exam than last time. I lowered my head, pretending to organize my books, but my ears were perked up, listening to their conversation. Leo did indeed do well on the exam, but what he didn't mention was that he had barely slept these past 2 days, staying up all night solving problems. Then, give me another cup today, Judy said to Tina. Tina smiled as she poured out a small cup of dark brown liquid, and the strange medicinal aroma once again filled the classroom. Opportunity knocks but once. Jim, are you really not going to reconsider? Tina suddenly looked at me, her eyes probing. You're the only one in the class who hasn't had a drink. Can't help it, my stomach ulcer is acting up. Forget about traditional medicine. The doctor even said I need to avoid spicy foods for 2 weeks. I lied without batting an eye. I really envy all of you. Tina pursed her lips, looking somewhat skeptical. But she didn't press further. She turned to the other students and continued distributing her miracle medicine. In this life, without my interference, Tina successfully distributed the medicine to everyone. It was a case of Zhou Yu beating Huang Gai, one willing to hit, the other willing to be hit. I wouldn't say a word more. Learning to respect others' fates is what I should focus on. On my way home, I passed by a pharmacy with an advertisement in the window that read, College Entrance Exam Sprint, calm the mind and nourish the brain. I stopped and stared at the ad for a moment before suddenly laughing. In my past life, I tried desperately to protect those classmates, only to be met with their betrayal and harm. In this life, I choose to stand by and watch. I want to see whether you'll soar straight to heaven or plunge into the abyss. When I got home, my phone vibrated with a message from the class group chat. Tina had posted a group photo of the entire class with the caption, Drink the miracle medicine, and victory in the college entrance exam is assured. In the photo, everyone was smiling brightly, including me, of course. Only I knew the true meaning behind my smile. I stared at the photo for a long time, then turned off my phone. Outside the window, the sun was setting. It was the perfect time to watch the fiery clouds. Tomorrow marks the final sprint before the college entrance exam. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the ultimate outcome of this miracle drug will be for them. I closed my eyes, and memories from my past life flooded in. The insults, the mockery, the screeching sound of brakes. On the first day of the college entrance exam, the morning sun was exceptionally bright. I stood at the gate of the exam school, holding my admission ticket, watching my classmates arrive one after another. Most of them had dark circles under their eyes, their faces as pale as paper, looking completely different from their excited selves 3 days ago. I walked over and noticed Wendy's eyes were bloodshot, her fingers constantly twisting the hem of her clothes. Leo was sweating profusely, wiping his forehead with a tissue over and over. What's wrong with you? I asked deliberately, even though I already had a rough idea in my mind. I don't know, I've been feeling awful since last night. Wendy's voice trembled a little. I'm terribly dizzy and keep feeling nauseous. Leo gritted his teeth. Me too, I feel completely weak, like I have a fever. Damn it, of all days to feel like this. I looked around and noticed many classmates showing similar symptoms. Some were leaning against the wall with their eyes closed, others were drinking water non-stop, and a few girls were quietly sobbing. Tina was the last to arrive. She was wearing a red dress today, saying it was for good luck. But her pale complexion made the bright red stand out starkly. Her steps were unsteady, and she stumbled slightly as she reached the front of the line. Tina, are you okay? Judy steadied her. It's nothing, just a bit nervous. Tina forced a smile, but I noticed her pupils were unusually dilated, and her fingers were trembling slightly. The bell rang, and we lined up to enter the examination hall. As we passed through the security check, Leo suddenly went weak in the legs, nearly collapsing to the ground, but was caught by the invigilator. Are you okay, student? Do you need to go to the infirmary? The teacher asked with concern. No, I'm fine, Leo almost shouted, then lowered his voice. It's just a bit of low blood sugar. The teacher gave him a suspicious look but ultimately let him pass. My seat was in the middle of the classroom, with Wendy in front of me and Tina to my right front. When the test papers were handed out, the classroom was so quiet you could hear the sound of pencils scratching against the paper. I glanced at the test paper. The essay topic was choice. I sneered inwardly and began answering the questions calmly. In less than half an hour, something unusual started to happen. First was Wendy, who kept shifting in her seat, her left hand pressed firmly against her temple, while her right hand wrote slower and slower. Then there was Tina in the front right, her back stiff and straight, but I could see her shoulders trembling slightly. The most severe case was Leo. An hour into the exam, he suddenly raised his hand. Teacher, may I go to the restroom? The proctor frowned. There's only an hour left. Can you hold on? Leo's face turned from pale to ashen, with beads of sweat forming on his forehead. I can't hold on anymore. The teacher had no choice but to call in an external invigilator to accompany him to the restroom. Leo's steps were unsteady as he left, nearly knocking over 2 desks. My pen glided smoothly across the exam paper, but my heart was churning with complex emotions. In my previous life, I had died a tragic death because I failed to make the right choice. In this life, my choice was correct. But what about yours? Tina suddenly let out a soft whimper. She buried her head in her hands, her shoulders trembling violently. The invigilator walked over and asked her a few questions in a low voice, but she only shook her head. When the final bell rang, the classroom was filled with sighs. Wendy's essay was only half finished, and there were several noticeable water stains on the paper, like fallen tears. Tina's exam paper had a large blank section. She, too, had failed to complete the questions. It's over, completely over. As he walked out of the exam hall, Leo crouched in the corner of the corridor, clutching his hair with both hands. I didn't even attempt the last 3 major questions. My mind went completely blank. Judy didn't look much better either. I completely blanked on the classical poetry fill-in-the-blank section, even though I could recite them backward just a while ago. The sounds of students commiserating with each other rose and fell, but I remained silent. Tina was surrounded in the middle, her expression growing increasingly grim. Tina, didn't you say this medicine would last until the end of the college entrance exams? Wendy suddenly questioned, her voice hoarse. Why did it fail after just the first session? I don't know either, Tina stammered in response. Maybe it's because everyone's constitution is different. I barely slept last night, a boy chimed in. My heart was racing all night, and even sleeping pills didn't help. Me too, and me. The chorus of agreement grew louder, and the students' gazes gradually focused on Tina, filled with suspicion and anger. It might not necessarily be because of the medicine. Tina took a step back, her lips trembling. I drank more than any of you. How could I possibly harm you all? But you never mentioned any side effects of this medicine. Wendy suddenly raised her voice. We drank it without knowing anything. Tina's face instantly turned pale. I stood on the outskirts of the crowd, watching the escalating conflict with a cold eye. In my past life, they had ganged up on me in the same way, only back then it was because I had tried to stop them from drinking the medicine, hindering their future prospects. All right, Judy stepped in to mediate. We still have math this afternoon. Everyone, please calm down and go back to rest. The crowd reluctantly dispersed, but I noticed that the way a few classmates looked at Tina had already changed. It was the look of shattered trust, just like the way they had looked at me in my past life. The afternoon math exam was even more brutal. In less than half an hour, 3 students were escorted out of the exam hall due to dizziness and nausea. Wendy suddenly burst into tears while working on the second major question and was taken out by the proctor to be comforted. Tina held on until the end, but her answer sheet had large blank sections, and her hands trembled so much when she handed it in that she could barely hold the pen. When the exams ended the next day, the class group chat fell into a dead silence, as if everyone had collectively vanished. Sure enough, everything is unfolding exactly as I predicted. However, this is just the beginning. When the college entrance exam results come out, and they realize their lives have been ruined by that so-called miracle potion, the real storm will arrive. As for me, I just need to wait quietly. On the third day after the college entrance exam, the class group chat suddenly exploded. Lying in bed, I scrolled through the messages popping up on my phone. The earliest was from Leo, sent at 3 a.m. Is anyone else in so much pain they can't sleep? Immediately, over a dozen replies flooded in. It hurts so much, like I've been beaten up. I had a fever of 39 degrees and went to the hospital. My urine was brown, and the doctor asked me what I had eaten. I slowly scrolled through the screen, my lips curling into an involuntary smile. These classmates who had once joined Tina in bullying me were now experiencing the retribution they deserved. The messages in the class group chat had already exceeded 99 plus, and the content gradually shifted from complaints to direct questioning of Tina. Finally, someone directly at her. At Tina, what's going on with that medicine you gave? The doctor said I have drug poisoning. A few minutes later, Tina replied, there's no way the medicine could be a problem, it might just be a personal constitution issue. I'm feeling terrible too. This sentence was like a drop of water falling into a hot oil pan, instantly sparking an even more intense reaction. Bullshit, the whole class is having issues, and you're telling me it's about constitution. What exactly are the ingredients in that medicine? Don't you think you owe everyone an explanation? Tina did not reply again. I turned off my phone and walked to the window. The summer sun was still bright, but I knew that in some hospital wards, my classmates were lying in sick beds, paying the price for their gullibility and greed for shortcuts. The next day, I happened to pass by the city center hospital. At the entrance of the inpatient department, I ran into Wendy's mother. Her eyes were red and swollen, and she was clutching a stack of payment slips. Auntie, how is Wendy doing? I stepped forward and asked. She looked up at me, barely recognizing me as Wendy's classmate. The doctor said it's acute liver and kidney damage caused by medication, and she needs to be hospitalized for observation. This child, how could she be so foolish? I followed Mrs. Zhang to the hospital room. Wendy was lying on the hospital bed, her face sallow, with an IV tube inserted into the back of her hand. Seeing me, she forced a weak smile. You're lucky you didn't drink the medicine. I sat down in the chair by the bed. I heard that medicine was charged for. Wendy's eyes flickered for a moment, then she nodded. Tina said the ingredients were especially precious, like wild ginseng, cordyceps. I gave her all the scholarship money I had saved up. Her voice grew softer and softer, eventually turning into a sob. I looked at the prominent blue veins on her thin wrists, but felt no sympathy at all. The image of her snarling and cursing at me in my past life seemed to be right before my eyes. What about the others? I asked. Leo is in the upstairs ward with abnormal liver function. Judy's symptoms are milder, but she still needs to come in for daily injections. Wendy suddenly grabbed my wrist. Jim, do you think Tina knew there was something wrong with that medicine? Instead of answering directly, I asked in return, what do you think? Wendy let go of my hand, her eyes dimming. I only found out yesterday that she didn't tell the teacher the truth at all. When Mr. Lucas asked her for it, she said it was all used up. As I left the hospital, I spotted a familiar figure in the outpatient hall. Tina, wearing a mask and a baseball cap, was hurrying toward the pharmacy. She didn't notice me, but I clearly saw the test results and several boxes of liver-protecting medication in her hand. Back home, there was new activity in the class group chat. Judy posted a photo of a lab report, with the diagnosis section clearly stating, suspected drug-induced liver injury, hospitalization recommended. She tagged Tina below. Don't you owe everyone an explanation? This time, Tina replied quickly, I drank the same amount of medicine, and I'm suffering too. The formula was from my grandfather and has never caused problems before. Maybe you all ate something else on your own. This evasive response completely ignited the classmates' anger. Dozens of replies flooded in instantly, some calling her heartless, others demanding refunds, and a few even threatening to report her to the school. I turned off my phone, walked to the balcony, and took a deep breath. The summer night breeze carried the scent of flowers, and the city lights in the distance twinkled like stars. Everything was going even more smoothly than I had imagined. Every word of Tina's defense was pushing her deeper into the abyss, while those classmates who had once hurt me were now enduring torments far worse than what I had suffered in my past life. The only difference was that this time, I only needed to watch quietly. Outside the window, a bolt of lightning streaked across the night sky, followed by the distant rumble of thunder. The wind howled, heralding the coming storm. On the day the college entrance exam results were announced, the class group chat fell into a deathly silence at first, then erupted into chaos. I sat in front of the computer, looking at my score, 625, not bad, this score is enough to get into the university I want. I closed the results page and clicked on the constantly flashing group chat. I scored over 80 points lower than in the mock exams. My math score is only half of what I usually get. It's over. I didn't even make the second-tier cutoff. Desperate messages kept flooding the screen. I counted. Almost all my classmates were complaining about their unusually low scores. Those who had followed Tina in mocking me in my past life were now tasting the bitter fruit they had sown. The sun scorched the earth, and the distant sound of cicadas filled the air. This kind of weather, paired with this kind of anger, couldn't have been more fitting. At 3 in the afternoon, in the residential area where Tina lived, from a distance, I could see a crowd gathered downstairs, around 20 students and over a dozen parents. Leo stood at the front, pressing the doorbell forcefully. I found a spot under the shade of a tree, not too close and not too far, where I could clearly see what was happening without getting involved. Tina, come out, refund, pay for the medical expenses, you've ruined my child's future. The shouts grew louder, and several neighbors leaned out of their windows to look. Finally, the door to Tina's house opened, but it wasn't her who came out. It was a middle-aged man, presumably her father. Parents, students, please calm down. The man tried to soothe the crowd, but his voice was quickly drowned out. Your daughter sold fake medicine and harmed people. My son is still in the hospital. You must take legal responsibility. Tina's father had beads of sweat the size of soybeans on his forehead. He turned and shouted something, and only then did Tina timidly appear at the door. Her face was pale, with heavy dark circles under her eyes, completely devoid of her usual charm as the class beauty. I really didn't know it would turn out like this. Her voice trembled. I'm a victim too? Bullshit, Leo roared, raising his phone. Everyone, look, this is the test report I got from a professional institution. Her so-called miracle drug contains banned ingredients. It damages the nervous system. The crowd erupted in gasps of shock. I narrowed my eyes, never expecting Leo to have this up his sleeve. It seems anger really can unlock a person's potential. Tina's father's face instantly turned deathly pale. This can't be, and there's more. Wendy's mother pushed her way to the front, waving a stack of receipts in her hand. My daughter scrimped and saved to give you 800 yuan for medicine, and what did you give her in return? Poison. Tina shrank behind her father, her lips trembling, unable to speak. Everyone, Tina's father raised his voice. There must be some misunderstanding here. That prescription I bought it online. The seller said it was pure traditional Chinese medicine. This statement was like adding fuel to the fire. The parents completely erupted. Some called them frauds, others shouted about calling the police, and a few, overwhelmed with emotion, tried to rush forward. Bought online. Leo's voice twisted with anger. Your daughter claimed it was a secret family recipe, and you took so much money from us. Tina's father wiped his sweat. The cost really isn't low. Fraud, a boy shouted. I looked it up. That smart drug can be bought online for just a few $dozen a big bag. The truth was being revealed layer by layer, and the crowd's anger burned hotter and hotter. I looked at Tina's pale face, remembering how arrogantly she had led the bullying against me in my past life. Now it was her turn to taste the bitterness of being condemned by everyone. Refund the money, pay for the medical expenses, call the police and arrest them. The shouts grew louder and louder. Tina's father tried to explain something, but no one was listening. Suddenly, Leo rushed forward and pushed Tina's father. Do you know I missed the military academy physical because of that damn drug? That was my lifelong dream. This push seemed to open the floodgates, and several boys followed suit. The scene instantly descended into chaos. Some pulled at Tina's clothes, while others pointed at her father and shouted curses. Tina's mother rushed out of the house to protect her daughter but was shoved aside by an angry parent. Stop, everyone, stop. Tina's father tried to restore order, but it was useless. Amid the chaos, Tina suddenly broke free from the crowd and turned to run into the hallway. Leo and 2 other boys immediately chased after her. Don't run, You have to give an explanation today. I stood still, listening to the hurried footsteps and shouts coming from upstairs. Suddenly, a sharp scream pierced the air, followed by the dull thud of something heavy tumbling down the stairs. Everyone fell silent for a moment, then swarmed toward the hallway. I slowly followed and saw Tina lying at the turn of the stairs, her right leg twisted at an unnatural angle, her face covered in blood. The three boys who had been chasing her stood a few steps away, their faces pale. I didn't touch her, Leo stammered. She slipped on her own. Tina's mother let out a heart-wrenching scream and rushed toward her daughter. Someone shouted to call an ambulance, while others began to quietly back away. The crowd, which had been so aggressive just moments before, now deflated like a punctured balloon. The siren of the ambulance grew louder as it approached. I retreated to the edge of the crowd. Watching coldly as the farce played out, Tina was still moaning as she was lifted onto the stretcher, and her father followed her into the ambulance. Before leaving, he glared fiercely at everyone present. None of you are getting away with this. I'm calling the police. But no one was intimidated. One of the parents sneered. Call the police. Perfect. Let them investigate your family for selling fake medicine and harming people. After the ambulance drove away, the crowd gradually dispersed, but angry discussions continued. I heard someone say they would file a joint complaint, someone mentioned suing, and others were calculating the losses from medical and tutoring fees. I turned and walked away, my heart completely calm. In my past life, when they drove me to a mental breakdown and I got into a car accident, no one called an ambulance for me. When I got home, I turned on my computer. The class group chat was already in an uproar. Someone had uploaded a video of the scene, others were discussing legal responsibilities, and some were relieved they hadn't gotten involved. Leo posted a long message detailing how Tina had fallen down the stairs on her own, clearly afraid of being held accountable. I closed my computer and walked out to the balcony. Night had already fallen, and the city lights in the distance twinkled like stars. This revenge had gone even more smoothly than I had imagined. I didn't even need to lift a finger before they started tearing each other apart. Tina's leg is said to be fractured, and her face will likely scar. For someone who has always cared about her appearance, this is probably worse than death. As for those classmates who joined her in bullying me, they are now facing physical injuries, failure in the college entrance exams, and potential legal disputes. This play isn't over yet, but my part in it is done. The seeds have been sown, let them grow naturally. Outside the window, the summer night breeze carries a warm breath. I take a deep breath, cherishing every little moment since my rebirth. When the morning sunlight filters through the gaps in the curtains, my phone has already vibrated over a dozen times. Squinting, I swipe open the screen. The class group chat shows 99 plus unread messages, with a news link pinned at the top. High school students selling smart pills causes collective poisoning among classmates. Investigation launched over banned ingredients. I clicked on the link and saw a familiar class photo, now pixelated, used as an accompanying image. The article detailed the incident, even mentioning the specifics of Tina falling down the stairs. The comments section was already in an uproar, some condemning Tina for her malicious intent, others sympathizing with the affected students, and some debating the school's responsibility. I got up and pulled back the curtains. Down on the street, several people with cameras were asking the neighborhood security guards for information. Everything was under control, and things were unfolding exactly as I had anticipated. In the class group chat, the students' reactions varied. Some were worried about their privacy being exposed, some were angry at the media for exaggerating the facts, and a few were discussing whether to collectively accept an interview to expose the truth. Leo sent a voice message, his voice hoarse. The police questioned me last night about Tina falling down the stairs. I put down my phone and walked into the bathroom. In the mirror, my face looked calm, showing no signs of emotional fluctuation. After washing up, I turned on my computer and searched for related news. The incident had already reached the top of Weibo's trending list, with the hashtag #ClassBeautySellsDrugsHarms Classmates hashtag exceeding 200 million views. Major media outlets were competing to report on it, with some even digging up the health supplement company run by Tina's father and questioning its long-term regulatory violations. An interview video caught my attention. In the footage, Wendy's mother, with red eyes, recounted how her daughter went from being in the top 20 of her grade to her current state, lying in a hospital bed. The doctor said her liver function damage might be permanent. The weary mother choked up. She's only 18. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was my homeroom teacher. Mr. Lucas, Jim, are you at home? The school needs all students to fill out an incident report form. I'll have someone bring it to you, I replied with my address and continued browsing the news. As the incident unfolded, more details emerged. Tina's so-called family secret recipe was actually purchased from an illegal drug forum. The powder, which cost less than 10 yuan per packet, was sold to classmates for prices ranging from 500 to 2,000 yuan. Some students even borrowed money to buy the drug. Now burdened with debt and facing a health crisis, at noon, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Judy standing outside, looking pale and exhausted. After opening the door, she handed me a file folder. "This is the form the school requires. Submit it by tomorrow." I took the folder and noticed her hand trembling slightly. "Are you okay?" Judy gave a bitter smile. "I just came back from the hospital. My transaminase levels are 5 times the normal range," the doctor said. Her voice suddenly choked up. "Said it might affect my ability to have children in the future." I didn't know what to say, so I stayed silent. Judy wiped her eyes. "Leo might be sued because of that push on Tina's father." She turned to leave but stopped in her tracks. "Oh, and the school has revoked the graduation eligibility of Tina and several other students involved in the incident, including Leo and Wendy." I watched Judy's retreating figure, much thinner than I remembered, back in the room. I opened the file folder. Inside was an incident report form, requiring detailed records of whether I had participated in purchasing drugs, whether I had been involved in the conflict, and so on. At the end, there was a bolded reminder: "The information provided will serve as evidence for the police investigation. Please fill it out truthfully." I slowly filled out the form. I hadn't purchased any drugs, wasn't involved in the conflict, and my knowledge of the incident was limited to messages in the class group chat. In the evening, I turned on the TV, and the local news was reporting on the incident. On screen, the entrance to Tina's family's company was sealed off, with law enforcement officers carrying out boxes of documents. The reporter said the case had escalated into a criminal investigation, and the possibility of more people being involved could not be ruled out. The TV switched to another scene, an interview outside the hospital. Tina was sitting in a wheelchair, her right leg in a cast and gauze covering her face. Facing the camera, she cried pitifully. "I really didn't know the drugs were problematic. I'm a victim too," the reporter asked sharply. "But you sold them to classmates at high prices, making tens of thousands in profit. How do you explain that?" Tina's crying abruptly stopped, her eyes flickering. That's the cost." A sudden roar came from off-screen. "Liar!" A water bottle flew into the frame, hitting Tina on the shoulder. The scene instantly descended into chaos, and the cameraman hurriedly cut the signal. I turned off the TV and walked to the window. Night had fallen, and the city lights were gradually turning on. This storm was growing larger and larger, somewhat beyond my expectations. I wonder if any of you have felt even a hint of regret by now. My phone vibrated, interrupting my thoughts. There was a new message in the class group chat, this time, a link to a shared document titled Tina's List of Crimes. Upon opening it, I found a detailed list of her various misdeeds, from her first to third year of high school: cheating on exams, spreading rumors about classmates, stealing class funds. True or false, it was all there. At the end of the document, it read, "This kind of scum doesn't deserve to live." I frowned as I scrolled through the edit history, finding that at least a dozen people had participated in the revisions. The most insane part was the comments section. Some suggested going to the hospital to demand an explanation, others uploaded Tina's hospital room number, and someone even posted pictures of knives. This kind of talk had already crossed the line from anger and was sliding toward a dangerous edge. I turned off my phone and walked over to my desk. In my past life, when they drove me to the brink, did anyone speak up for me? Now that they were reaping what they sowed, why should I pretend to be compassionate? Outside the window, another bolt of lightning streaked across the night sky, followed by the rumble of distant thunder. In the class group chat, someone anonymously posted detailed information about Tina's hospitalization. City Hospital East Wing, 7th floor, room 712, right leg fracture, minor concussion, expected to be hospitalized for 2 weeks. The information even included her daily examination schedule. At this moment, in room 712, the door was half open. Through the gap, Tina could be seen leaning against the headboard, her right leg in a cast and suspended, with gauze taped to her face. She was looking down at her phone, her brow furrowed. There were no flowers or get-well cards by the bed, only her mother mechanically peeling an apple. From the water dispenser at the end of the corridor came hushed voices, 2 nurses chatting. "That girl in 712 is so pitiful, she had another nightmare last night," said the younger nurse. The older nurse pursed her lips. Pitiful, the news said she sold drugs and harmed so many classmates. This morning, another one of her classmates was admitted to room 715, liver and kidney failure, only 18 years old. Ward 715 was not far away, its door closed, but the window revealed several figures inside. On the bench downstairs in the hospital, Wendy's mother was reading a medical report, her shoulders trembling uncontrollably. A corner of the report showed a few striking words. Poor prognosis, requires long-term treatment. The July sun was scorching and glaring. The class group chat had gained hundreds more unread messages. A newly created anonymous group link was being repeatedly shared, titled, Seeking Justice. I clicked the link. The group already had over 20 people. The first pinned message was a photo of a lab report, with all liver function indicators marked in red. The poster wrote, "The doctor said I can never drink alcohol again in my life. And that bitch is still playing the victim." The replies below are getting more and more intense. My parents spent over $10,000 on tutoring fees, and it all went down the drain. Wasn't her family's property seized? Where's the money? Just paying compensation isn't enough. I want her to taste what it's like to wish she were dead. Scrolling further down, someone posted a photo of Tina's hospital room, clearly taken without permission. The latest messages are discussing specific action plans. Her mom won't be there tomorrow afternoon, and the caregivers changed shifts at 2. The stairwell in the East Wing has no surveillance. I'll bring the rope. Who has a camera? I turned off my phone and stood at the bus stop waiting for the bus. The road was bustling with traffic, and pedestrians hurried by, none noticing the turbulent thoughts churning beneath the calm exterior of a high school student. Just then, my phone vibrated again. It was a notification from that anonymous group chat. Leo had sent a message. Meet at the east gate of the hospital tomorrow at 2 p.m. Bring masks and hats. If you don't want to go, just pretend you didn't see this. Immediately, 7 or 8 replies followed. Some asked for specific plans, while others confirmed they would definitely be there. The last message came from an unfamiliar account. I've brought pepper spray and zip ties. That bitch is going to get what she deserves. I closed the group chat and turned on the TV. The local news was following up on the high school student drug selling case. On the screen, the entrance to Tina's family's health supplement company was tightly shut, sealed with official notices. The reporter said the case had been transferred to the procuratorate, and Tina's father might face charges for producing and selling counterfeit drugs. It is reported that 5 of the affected students have been hospitalized, 2 of whom are in serious condition. Experts indicate that the drugs involved contain prohibited ingredients, which may cause permanent liver and kidney damage. I switched to another channel, where an old movie was playing. The male lead said, "Revenge is like a snowball. Once it starts rolling, it can't be stopped." Late at night, I lay in bed, listening to the occasional sound of cars passing by outside. What will happen at the hospital tomorrow at 2 p.m.? I turned over and stopped thinking about it. In my past life, when they drove me to the brink, did anyone hesitate even for a moment? The phone screen lit up in the darkness, and there was a new message in the anonymous group chat. I glanced at it. It was Leo's final confirmation. Proceed as planned tomorrow, bring the equipment, and don't register under your real name. I didn't reply. Just set my phone to silent and placed it on the bedside table. Once the gears of revenge start turning, they can never be stopped, and I only need to be a quiet observer. Outside the window, a pale, cold moon hung in the sky, like an indifferent eye. At 1:45 in the afternoon, I sat at my desk, the computer screen displaying the live surveillance footage of the municipal hospital. This wasn't hacking, it was just the publicly accessible security system in the hospital lobby, which anyone could view through the visitor portal on the official website. In the footage, the East Wing inpatient lobby was bustling with people. I adjusted the angle slightly and saw a few young people wearing masks standing near the elevator. Though they were deliberately keeping their distance, their familiar silhouettes and postures were unmistakable at a glance. Leo, Judy, and 3 other boys from the class. My phone screen lit up, showing the latest message from that anonymous group. Location reached. Awaiting signal. The sender was Leo. On the computer surveillance feed, Leo glanced at his phone and then gestured to the others. They entered the elevator in groups, and someone pressed the button for the 7th floor. I switched to the surveillance view of the 7th floor hallway. The footage was somewhat blurry, but clear enough to make out details. At 2:03, the elevator doors opened. Leo was the first to step out, looking left and right before quickly heading toward room 712. The others followed closely behind, with Judy bringing up the rear, constantly glancing back. I switched cameras to find the surveillance feed outside room 712. Leo stopped at the door, pulled something out of his backpack and distributed it to the others. Then, he abruptly pushed the door open, and the 5 of them filed into the room. There is no surveillance inside the ward, but the microphone in the hallway captured a sharp scream, followed by the dull thud of something heavy hitting the floor. A nurse ran out of the duty room, glanced in the direction of room 712, hesitated for a moment, and then walked over. Just then, the door to room 712 suddenly opened, and Judy rushed out to stop the nurse, gesturing as if trying to explain something. The nurse frowned and shook her head. Suddenly, Judy grabbed the nurse's arm, and at the same time, Leo leaned out from inside the ward, holding something in his hand that he sprayed toward the nurse's face. The nurse covered her face and crouched down, while Leo and Judy quickly retreated into the room and closed the door. I switched back to the lobby surveillance feed and saw the front desk attendant answering a phone call, looking panicked. 2 minutes later, 3 security guards rushed toward the elevator. At the same time, the window of room 712 suddenly opened, and a dark figure fell from the 7th floor. Accompanied by the sound of shattering glass, the surveillance footage shook violently as the crowd began to stir. I quickly switched to the camera outside the hospital and saw Tina lying on the lawn. The cast on her right leg was shattered, her face was covered in blood, her hospital gown was torn to shreds, and there were clear ligature marks on her wrists. Security guards and medical staff swarmed the scene. Some were shouting into walkie-talkies, while others began performing CPR. In the distance, the sound of sirens grew louder and closer. I turned off the surveillance footage and picked up my phone. The anonymous group chat was already in an uproar. What happened? I thought we were just trying to scare her. Leo, are you crazy? The police are here. Everyone delete the records. The last message was from Leo. She deserved it. Then the group was disbanded, and all records vanished. I deleted all related records and apps from my phone and walked to the window. The summer sun was still bright, with a few sparrows hopping on the power lines. In the distance, 3 police cars were speeding toward the direction of the municipal hospital. The TV automatically started playing breaking news. Latest report from our station: a violent assault incident occurred at the municipal hospital. Several teenagers broke into a ward and attacked a female patient, who fell from the 7th floor. She is currently in critical condition and undergoing emergency treatment. The screen switched to the hospital scene, where a reporter spoke rapidly. According to informed sources, all those involved are students previously affected by the smart drug incident, and the girl who fell is none other than Lynn, who is suspected of selling the banned substance. In the evening, a local news website updated the progress of the incident. 5 students involved have been taken into custody by the police, 2 of whom are minors. The victim, Lynn, remains in the intensive care unit in critical condition. The police stated that this case will be investigated together with the earlier smart drug case, and the possibility of more individuals being held accountable cannot be ruled out. The phone vibrated with a notification from the school. All senior high school students must attend an emergency meeting at the school tomorrow at 9 a.m. No absences are allowed. I know this play is nearing its end. Tomorrow, the school will announce the disciplinary decision, the police will release updates on the investigation, and I will continue to play the role of the inconspicuous bystander. The desk lamp casts my shadow on the wall, making it appear unusually tall. So this is the taste of revenge, not as exhilarating as imagined, and of course, without any guilt afterward, just like watching a movie whose ending you already know. Outside the window, a gust of wind rustles the leaves. What will everything be like when the sun rises tomorrow? Tina is dead. The morning TV news announced the news in a calm tone. The injured party, Mr. Lynn, from yesterday's violent incident at the municipal hospital, passed away at 3 a.m. this morning after unsuccessful emergency treatment due to the severity of his injuries. The case has been upgraded from intentional injury to intentional murder, and the 5 students involved will face more serious criminal charges. I turned off the TV and slowly chewed on my breakfast bread. The bread was a bit dry, so I washed it down with a gulp of water. Outside the window, the sun was shining brightly, a perfect day for a graduation ceremony. My phone kept vibrating. The class group chat was eerily silent, but private messages were flooding in. I casually opened a few, all filled with panicked inquiries and statements trying to distance themselves. No one mentioned Tina, and no one mourned. They were only concerned about whether they would be implicated. I put on my school uniform and straightened my collar in the mirror. The boy in the reflection had calm eyes, showing no trace of emotion. After all, I had experienced life and death earlier than any of them. 2 police cars were parked at the school gate, with uniformed officers checking student IDs. I calmly handed mine over, and after a quick glance, the officer let me pass. The atmosphere in the auditorium was tense. The principal stood on the stage, his face ashen. The usually noisy students were as quiet as a flock of quails today, each one keeping their head down, afraid of being called out. Today was supposed to be our graduation ceremony. The principal's voice was hoarse, but due to the disgraceful actions of some students, it has now become a crisis management meeting. He scanned the room sternly. Students involved in yesterday's hospital incident, whether directly or indirectly, must report to the administration office immediately. The police already have sufficient evidence. Turning yourselves in voluntarily may lead to reduced penalties. No one moved. The auditorium was so quiet you could hear the hum of the air conditioning. The principal sighed and continued, as for the other students, diplomas and academic records will be issued as usual. However, given the severity of this incident, the school has decided to cancel all collective celebrations. After the meeting ended, the students hurried away as if fleeing a disaster. I slowly packed my bag and noticed Wendy's seat was empty. I heard her condition worsened last night, and she was transferred to the provincial hospital. Jim, Mr. Lucas, the homeroom teacher, called out to me, "Come here for a moment." I followed her into the office, where 2 plainclothes police officers were seated. The older one looked up at me. "Are you Jim, from class 2, grade 12? "Yes," I nodded. "We are investigating Tina's case and have a few questions for you." He gestured for me to sit down. "How would you describe your relationship with Tina?" "We were just ordinary classmates," I replied. "We didn't have any special interactions." The young officer flipped through his notebook. "Some classmates have mentioned that you never drank the herbal medicine Tina was selling." "That's right, I have a sensitive stomach, so I didn't dare to drink traditional Chinese medicine," I replied without changing my expression, "especially not this kind of herbal medicine with an unclear origin." "What happened after that? Did you have any conflicts with Tina?" I shook my head. "No. I'm quite introverted and rarely participate in class activities." The 2 police officers exchanged a glance. The older one continued asking, "Do you know who was involved in the hospital incident yesterday?" "I don't know," I said, looking him straight in the eyes. "I was at home yesterday, studying for my university courses." They asked a few more questions, and I answered each one truthfully. I hadn't participated in any group discussions, hadn't been to the hospital, and my knowledge of the incident was limited to what I'd seen in the news. Every word was true, except for the most crucial part. I had foreseen all of this long ago. The police officer closed his notebook. "All right, thank you for your cooperation. If you remember any important clues, feel free to contact us anytime." Leaving the office, there were hardly any people left on campus. I passed by the bulletin board, which still displayed the college entrance exam results. Unfortunately, I was the only one from my class who made the list. Back home, an email was waiting in my inbox. I opened it. It was an admission letter from the provincial university, the school I had dreamed of in my past life. I stared at the screen for a long time, then calmly shut down the computer. In the evening, the local news updated the progress of the case. 3 more students have turned themselves in for the hospital violence death case, according to police. The number of people involved may exceed 10. The main suspects, including Wang, will face charges of intentional homicide, with possible sentences exceeding 10 years. The scene switched to Wendy's mother, lying in a bed at the provincial hospital, looking haggard. Our Wendy is also a victim. She now has liver and kidney failure and will need lifelong treatment. Those kids were too impulsive. I turned off the TV and walked out onto the balcony. Night had fallen, and the city lights twinkled like stars. In my past life, at this very moment, I was already lying cold in a morgue, while the person who had killed me was celebrating graduation. Now, our positions were completely reversed. My phone vibrated once. It was the final message in the class group chat. Judy had posted, "I've turned myself in. Being Leo's lookout makes me an accomplice, right? I hope the judge goes easy on me since I'm still a minor." I deleted all the class-related messages and photos from my phone. Tomorrow, I would go to the provincial university to complete the enrollment procedures and start a brand new life. As for those who had once hurt me, Leo would spend the best 10 years of his youth in prison. Wendy would struggle to survive with failing kidneys and liver, and all the others who had taken part in the violence would have criminal records, their life paths forever altered, and not a single drop of blood was on my hands. On the desk, the university admission letter glowed softly under the desk lamp. I carefully tucked it into the drawer and turned off the light. Outside the window, a bright moon hung high in the sky. Tomorrow would be another new day. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.